Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Diana FALZONE, and welcome to Bold Life. We have a great show for you today. Later today, we'll hear a live jazz performance of Let It Snow. It's going to be jazzy. Okay, yes, we're looking forward to that. Before we get to our first guest, remember, I'll be taking your comments and questions live during the show, so make sure to leave your thoughts on Facebook and Twitter. Now, let's get into some lifestyle headlines of the week. We're excited to welcome back journalist and author Crystal I. BERGER, Hannah ORENSTEIN from Elite Daily, and TAMARA FUENTES from 17. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hi. I love how we all coordinated the night before.
Absolutely.
Yes, we planned.
Definitely.
We did. We are all like twinning. First, a new study from a leading talent agency has shown that female-led movies perform better at the box office than those starring men. Some people still have the idea that movies centered on women aren't as profitable, but this study is saying otherwise. Is this surprising to you?
No way. Absolutely not. I mean, girls run the world, so, you know, it's one of those kind of things that I think women bring this unique thing to art, you know, that men just can't deliver.
This is like the perfect panel for this. We have absolutely no gender balance.
Good. I mean, for a long time, I think movie studios thought that only movies about men would do well, but we're really showing that's not the case, and all kinds of people want to see stories about them.
Yeah, and it's like, I think it's funny because now we have no excuse, basically. Like, movie studios used to use that excuse, oh, women aren't profitable, oh, women are not going to the movies as much as men, but now we clearly see that that's not true. So, like, give us more female-led movies right now.
Even from a TV movie standpoint, look at the success of the Hallmark Channel.
Oh my gosh,
and
yes.
Lifetime. I mean, they are completely dominated by women being the leads, which leads me to, what are some of your favorite female-led movies?
Well, I have to say Girls Trip. I mean, it was a dynamic movie, but also, too, they had a very small budget, and they outperformed, and they really took the box office by storm. So I would say Girls Trip was one of my recent most favorite ones, and I think still Magnolias is still one of my favorite. God. It's an old school one, but you still cry. You can catch it on the Hallmark Channel.
Especially when she's like, Shelby, drink the juice, Shelby. Like, drink the juice.
Yes.
My favorite is Mamma Mia 2. Such a hit this summer. So catchy. It's really great for karaoke.
Ocean's 8. It was so good. Yes, I can rewatch that like anytime, like possibly right after this. So such a good one, yeah.
I'm going to go with everything on Hallmark right now because that's what I'm doing during my evenings. It was Welcome to Christmas was my new favorite, and also Welcome to Christmas Colorado, which had nothing to do with each other. Speaking of successful ladies, women dominated the Grammy nominations this year. 5 of the 8 nominees for Album of the Year are women, including Cardi B, who's just been cleaning up and setting records all over the place, and Janelle Monáe. Is this news exciting for ladies?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Especially after last year's big fiasco. I mean, the extending of now being able to have more nominees in the major categories from 5 to 8, and to be able to see so many incredible women finally get nominated for the first time, it was like, oh, yes, finally.
Absolutely. And I think the climate and culture, too, where we are as far as women and our voices are so significant. And so many women are speaking about things. And you talk about Cardi B, you know, she was, you know, kind of criticized about being pregnant and stepping away from the Bruno Mars tour, and just showing that you can still be this multifaceted woman, still have huge success, and still get nominated for a Grammy. You know, so I think that's really empowering to see women in that space like that, for sure.
Yeah. I also loved that of the new artists, 7 of 8 are women.
Yes.
And so to see that not only these big legendary names like Cardi, you know, they're getting nominated, but all these up-and-coming artists as well. So hopefully we'll have female-dominated Grammys for years to come.
Next, we heard this week that Janet Jackson, Stevie Nicks, Radiohead, and many more will be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Are you guys excited about this? And do we care about The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I don't know why I can't say that. Like, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame anymore.
I mean, I think we should. I think that every artist, you know, whether you're a journalist, you want to be recognized. You know, if you're a writer, you want to be recognized. And so I think that it's kind of one of those things that really distinguishes, in my opinion, it always has, like the true people who take their craft really, really seriously. You know, so I think it's major that these folks are getting recognized. And I grew up on Janet, so, you know, control.
I'm most excited about is Janet.
Absolutely.
I got really happy when Stevie Nicks got nominated now. This will be her second time getting inducted. The first time was with Fleetwood Mac, and she's the first female to get inducted twice. So this is going to be some major history happening this year. I'm very excited. And also, there are hundreds of nominations every single year. So the few that get picked, you know, that's incredible. So to get nominated in twice, oh my gosh, yeah.
Some interesting news and also a little gossipy. Another of Meghan Markle's top aides is quitting. This comes after rumors she's difficult to work with. Who wants to spill the tea?
So Kate also had aides leaving early on in her time as a princess or as a duchess. And Meghan's aide was only supposed to help her transition into royal life. She was hired to help her get ready for the wedding. And so, of course, it's only natural she's going to leave a temporary role. Who would be criticized for that?
Absolutely. And then also, too, I think, like, you're a princess. And so you don't, like, have the regular demands of the average woman, right? And so I think that people have to really gauge, like, okay, what would it take to be an assistant to someone that is so high profile, right? Like, the demand is going to be extra because the need is more. So that's my opinion with that.
Yeah, and like you said, it's not that surprising. Aides leave all the time. We've heard it before, especially, you know, if you watch The Crown, she has so many aides that pop in and out constantly. I mean, it's not a surprising thing to see. I think people are just like overreacting about it, to be quite honest with you.
And I think that's what I was going to say, too. It's like, well, is it just the media putting this spin on it to make it a sensationalized story? Or is it really that she's that demanding?
It's also unfair to Meghan in some ways because she can't even speak out against it unless it's through a press release from the palace. Yeah. So that must be very tough for a strong American girl.
Absolutely.
To have to bite her tongue. Steve Carell was a guest on Ellen this week and told a story of being hit by a fan's car when he was biking. Fortunately, he was okay. Apparently, she got out and screamed, "Oh my God, it's Steve Carell." I'm sure he was thinking, "Oh my God, he just hit me in the butt." It ended up being a hilarious fan encounter. What would you guys do if this happened to you? Strange hypothetical country.
I want to ask about the Office reboot. Is it happening? I'm sorry. I know I just hit you with a car, but like, I need to know. She had that opportunity. Come on.
He called it a fun fan encounter to Ellen, so I just want that composure and sense of grace.
Also, that vest that she gave him was hilarious, and I really hope he wears it.
Would you bike in New York?
Absolutely not. No. I'm a Jersey girl. I live in Jersey. So, I mean, you know, I like a lot more parking spaces and, you know, greenery. So I think New York is just one of those places where you anticipate that something's going to happen. Yeah. Right? And it's kind of just part of New York living. So me personally, no, I'm not.
I was gently grazed by a cab. I mean, it happens. You live in New York long enough. It's just certain things are going to happen to you.
Absolutely.
Pigeons are going to, you know, you're going to get hit by a cab gently walking across the street. Let's hope that happens to none of you. If I don't see you before the holidays, please enjoy. Be merry, be bright. Our next segment is our Bookstr segment. Bookstr is a website for book lovers and much more. And we're very excited to welcome Jennifer L. Armentrout on Skype. She's a New York Times bestselling author. Hey, Jennifer. Oh, we might be having some technical difficulties, which is totally fine because I try to help my mom use Skype all the time, and it takes about an hour and a half. No offense, Mom. I love you very much.
Can you hear me?
Hi, you're with us. Hi, Jennifer.
Okay. I said thank you for being here, but I did have questions about being gently grazed by a cat.
You know, I have a lot of time after the show. We can get into it. Maybe you could even use it as part of your like fodder for one of your best-selling books. So can you give us a brief overview of your newest book and this fantastical world it takes place in?
Yes, The Darkest Star just came out in October. It is a spinoff of the Lux series that takes place about 4 years after the Lux series has ended. You don't need to read the original series to get the story on that. But basically, it deals with mankind and how it's adapting to realizing that they're not the only intelligent life form in the U.S., but also in the world, and also in the strongest. And so they're adapting to knowing that aliens are among them and how society adapts to that. It definitely has a lot of action, adventure, and a lot of romance in it.
What's it like to build a supernatural world that contains multiple characters and plot lines? Do you find yourself, when you're having conversations with friends over coffee, just drifting into this imaginary place?
Yes. It's like I'll be taking part in a conversation and I'll be holding it and talking to someone, but then my brain has now left the building and I'm thinking about, different types of aliens and how they would get to Earth and things like that. It's kind of weird, I think, in any author's mind, what goes on, even when we look like we're sitting there and paying attention. We usually are not there. But
that was me in high school, so I get it.
Pretty much that's me every day. But it's like when you're going to the grocery store or going to a store and you see certain things and you want to put that into the book too. So you do pull a lot from everyday surroundings, even into the supernatural or the fantasy world. But it's fun building the worlds and kind of creating your own little, universe for it. So
what factors do you take into account when building a world like this?
Well, I think when you're dealing with something that definitely has a lot of science fiction to it, there's truth in that. And so you do have to, some of it has to be real world and it has to make sense. But there is research. I am terrible at research, but what I've learned is intentional research that I get from watching some like really weird TV shows on like Discovery Channel.
I thought you were going to say sci-fi, but okay.
Yeah, like the Discovery Life Channel. Like you learn a lot of really interesting things there. So there is a lot of research, whether or not it's intentional or not, that does go into building a world that is very much like ours right now, but vastly different. Even if it's aliens, if it's demons or angels or fae, you have to ground it in the real world and then tweak it around it.
What drew you to write for young adults? Because that's a very different audience than writing for the romance novel audience that you also write for.
Yeah. I always have been a reader. And when I was a teenager, and I'm going to super date myself here, there wasn't a really large young adult section. It was pretty much R.L. Stine's Fear Street, Christopher Pike, and then L.J. Smith. And, and a couple other ones. But, when you would go into the days of like Walden Books, there would just be like this one little tiny bookshelf. And that would be your YA section. And that would be it. So I was reading way out of that genre when I was a teen. And, so when I look back, I really wish that a lot of the books that are available now were available when I was a teen. But I think that's one of the main reasons. But also, there's just something amazing about writing about the first, like your first heartbreak, your first love, your first loss, your first, hate of something, your first lust.
Well, that's where you're experiencing the most passionate feelings.
Yeah. And young adult, it covers some serious topics and issues. And in a way, it exposes people to things that they would never have access to. And so it definitely has the ability just to reach beyond, it being just a fantasy world with aliens. It has a lot of, meaning to it too. And I think that's the greatest thing about YA is that you can capture all these different things in a book.
You also write adult romance novels, which we just touched upon. How does that writing process differ for these two genres?
It really doesn't differ that much for me. I will say that, you do have to take into consideration the age of your reader when you're writing certain scenes. But other than that, it really doesn't difference. I sit down, I have an idea in my mind, and I tend to write unilaterally, but I get to every book, no matter what it is, I get to the middle of the book. I hate it at that point. I call it mid-book crisis, and I want every character to die in the book at that point. And so whether it's young adult or adult, it's the same process.
What makes a good romance book?
I think there's so many different things to make a good romance book, and it really differs for every reader and every author. I think it's showing things just beyond, it can't just be a physical attraction. There needs to be a mental, there needs to be emotional. And I think that anticipation. It always reminds me, the thing that really makes a great romance book for me is there's used to be this little drawing, this GIF of this guy like trying to push two heads together because you just want them to kiss finally. And it's like when you're watching the old days of like X-Files, for example, and you're like, are they going to kiss? Are they ever going to get together? So I do think the anticipation, but also romance has always been so far ahead of the curve. And I think, it covers so much in romance, just like young adult. When you pick up a romance book, you're going to be, there's so much meat to that. There's so many lessons to be learned from the future and the past and in present. And I think that's also what goes into romance and makes it so great.
But see, you're bringing up all these positives about the romance genre, but I feel like it gets a bad rap. What do you say to those haters?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because just this morning I get on Twitter and there is this tweet from somebody who was like, I love books. I read everything. Short books, long books, real books. And I still haven't figured out what real books are.
It's like Sarah Palin reads all of the papers.
Yeah, right. Like, is this written in parchment and blood? I'm confused. But then they listed all these genres and then said, except romance. And I was like, oh, are you kidding me? 2018, we're still having this. One of the reasons why I think romance gets kind of dumped on is because it is a genre that is dominated by women, written for women. And that's not to say that they're not male writers and they're not male readers reading romance, but for the most part, it's women. And I think just like we tend as a society to crap on anything that young girls like, we do the same thing to anything that's written and dominated by women. So I think it really stems from that because, you always see that, it's not just a romance or it's not more than, it's more than a romance. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with romance.
No, unfortunately, it's like a dying breed in real life, but that's okay. Finally, you also created a book convention. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, the book convention is called a Polycon. It's in 2019. It will be the 5th year. It'll be in Washington, D.C. It brings together over 100 young adult, new adult, and adult authors. Some write romance, some write fantasy, some write paranormal, mystery thriller. It also features traditionally published authors and independent self-published authors. It started many years ago around a release of a book of mine, and I didn't want to do the signing by myself, so my friend had suggested doing a signing with a bunch of authors, and it kind of just spawned from there. And we've been going strong for 5 years now. So
well, that's awesome. Very, very cool. Congratulations on all your success.
Thank you.
For our next segment, we're happy to have Jesse Janssen with us. He works with Beat the Streets Wrestling, a nonprofit that uses wrestling to help young people achieve their full potential. I'm excited to hear more about this. Welcome, Jesse.
Thanks for having me.
Nice to have you here.
And I apologize. My intention was to bring a singlet for your son. And we couldn't find one small enough, so we're going to have to mail you one for yourself. So there you go.
Oh, my. I'll think about it. First, how did you get into wrestling? Because you wrestled from a very young age. You wrestled at Harvard. You broke all kinds of records. You even were trying out for the Olympics. So you have quite the experience with the sport.
Failed miserably at the Olympics, by the way. So, but
the failure brought you to success anyway.
Right. That's what I tell myself. So, yes, I started at a young age. My father was a passion of his. I started doing kind of all sports. Liked baseball and soccer. But wrestling is a funny thing. It's kind of like a hurt so good that you get obsessed because it's so emotional and painful to lose. So, like, it's hard to split time and do other sports. It just takes, like, 24/7, all year long dedication to be really good at it.
I remember in high school, the young boys that would be on the wrestling team, and they would have to wear like these layers of sweatshirts and sweatpants and be careful what they ate just to weigh in. And it's incredibly taxing on the body, and the determination and the grit and just like you said, the blood, sweat, and tears that goes along with it.
Right.
It's one of those sports that you're like all in.
Right. And I think that's why it provides you with such great life lessons in the world, right? Whether it's being, the best athlete you can be, or student, or father, brother, sister, mother now, because women's wrestling is one of the fastest growing areas of our organization right now. So,
how has wrestling impacted your life?
In every way possible. Whether it's the opportunity I had going to Harvard, obviously, I was a good student, but being a good athlete as well and being well-rounded was huge. That door was open because of that. In the business world, a lot of my network are former wrestlers that have these great ambitions in finance, the blockchain community, film. And it's just this close-knit group of guys that really want to help each other and have this like communal, suffering that we've all been through. This.
You want to pass it on to the other generations.
Well, we can just relate, but it's just a beautiful sport. Yeah.
So tell us about Beat the Streets Wrestling and how it does help the younger generation.
Yeah. So I think the cliche sports analogies, apply, right? So it's like, discipline, hard work, perseverance, overcoming adversity. But the way it, in our organization, we have mentorship programs, we have internships, and yes, we're teaching them hard work. But so like all those things, the ability to get a college degree, there's no other combat sport that allows you to get college scholarships. So 80% of our kids are minority kids from low-income families, broken homes or single parents, and this could be the first kid in the generation of their family to go to college, and wrestling can help them.
How can a student get involved?
In our program,
Yes.
yeah, just apply. I mean, we have 3,500 kids in our universe. We partner with 150 middle school and high school programs. They can go to beatthestreets.org, and we have coaches all over the city. So.
And like you mentioned, this is a sport that is really seeing women on the rise. Girls can also participate in this charity as well.
Yes. So we have 5-6 years ago, we were kind of pioneers in that space. We had the first dual meets where there was just women wrestling women. This happened, I mean, there was wrestling for women years prior, but they were wrestling boys. So now we have our own, and this year will be the first year we have a girls-only state championships in New York State. So I think in our world, I'm trying to think the number of how many girls are in our programs right now, but it's hundreds. So
it's groundbreaking, especially this year.
Yeah,
it's amazing how far it's coming.
Yeah, it's been huge, and it's an Olympic sport. And again, there's college programs now, so that's one of the things we're most proud of.
You've obviously worked with a lot of kids and seen them go through the program in the last few years. Was there one particular story, and I'm sure there's hundreds, but one particular story that really resonated with you?
Yes, I mean, there are hundreds. I mean, just the fact that these kids can get to practice, for example. They go an hour and a half on the subway, and they have to, against all odds, kind of get through this thing. When I was young, my parents drove me to practice. It took me 10 hours in a car to wrestle, some of the best kids. So we had so much more opportunity. But for example, Brandon Nunez was the first state championship in our program's history, and that, as far as the athletic accomplishment, was huge. That showed 12 years of progress coming from not really having anyone place at states to getting a state championship. We also had a kid graduate from Brown, Ahmed Al-Said, and he's now in Brown Medical School. So these are the stories we want to share and we want more of. That's what it's all about. So.
And how do you get the word out for these kids to participate if they're not online, if they don't know about it any other way? Do you do charity events or functions like that?
Yeah, our biggest event is coming up May 16th. It's we're calling our benefit, which is in years past been a dual meet against the world's best wrestlers. USA versus Russia versus Cuba versus Iran. Wow. And we've done Times Square outside on the streets of New York City.
In those little outfits.
Right, that's right. Luckily, it's spring and it's warmer. Excuse me. But yeah, so and it's just great branding and marketing for our organization to be outside in Times Square on the Jumbotron, having people walk by. So this year it'll be at MSG in the theater and have a,
temperature controlled.
Right. So we don't have to worry about the rain this year for the first time in 10 years. So
good.
Be a little less stressful.
Now, you could be participating in a lot of different charities, and you've chosen to really invest your time and your energy into this one. Why is it so important to you?
Well, wrestling's been so good to me, and I want to give back. Without it, I wouldn't have gotten, my education. I wouldn't have had opportunity in the world of finance or even my film involvement. So it's all my close friends are former wrestlers. So I think that the life lessons you learn, you really can apply to be great at anything you do. So that's really, that's the reason.
Will you impart one life lesson that you've learned through wrestling?
The juxtaposition of humility and confidence. That's the most important. That you can enter a room with just inner arrogance that's just unmatched, but also you've been at the bottom. You've been
literally.
Yeah, literally. So I think that's important to have that, humility, but confidence is the same thing. That'll serve you in anything you do. So,
Great words, great advice,
Yep.
great organization. Like we said, if there are kids that are interested in it, they can check it out on the website.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Come back soon.
Of course.
Next, we have another great Bookstr segment, and we're excited to welcome Scott Richmond, the CEO of Bookstr. He's here to share some books that will make perfect gifts for the holidays. Welcome, Scott.
Hello, how are you?
Wonderful to have you here.
Great to be here.
You have brought your favorites for the holidays.
I heard you like stacks of books, so I brought stacks of books.
Yes, I love them. I think they're beautiful. So let's get into it.
Sure. Yeah, so I started out with Stranger Things book, which like everyone's been freaking out over as soon as we got this in the office. Like, basically all I really need to say is that the upside down is upside down in the book. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. And it's just beautiful. It has all sorts of like kind of 80s-ish.
Oh, that's cool.
Like, yeah, the finishes are amazing. So, you know, when we're thinking about like gifts for people, and maybe we want to get them to read when they don't usually read.
That's great for a super fan too, who's like a collector.
So, this is like
things.
perfect for the super fan. And look, it looks like it's worn out, but it's not. It has a fair sticker that's literally came with the book. It's already peeling off. It says, "Don't freak out. This is the way it's supposed to look." So yeah, it's really, really fun. So we, and has pictures from the show, things like that as well.
Awesome.
So yeah, so that's Stranger Things book. I think it's pretty obvious like why it's awesome. So there we go.
It sells itself.
Right.
Really.
Yeah. I didn't think I need to explain a lot about that one. So the next book, honestly, this blew my mind because everyone's heard about Lin-Manuel Miranda. I always say his name wrong. But, we all know about him. He's so famous for Hamilton. But I don't know how many people know that he, on his Twitter, he would, for a long time, have a tweet in the morning that encouraged people and a tweet at night that encouraged people. Aww. And then they made this, like, beautiful little book. And basically on one side it says, "Good morning. Everything could change today." Or "One tiny vital thing. What it won't be is a rerun of yesterday. Let's see." And then at night he says, "Good night. Everything could change tomorrow." Or "One tiny vital thing. What it won't be is a rerun of today. Rest up." Like, yeah, who knew? I knew he was people know he's like kind of a beautiful guy, but this really. So yeah,
I'm like a quote junkie, so I would love that.
Oh yeah, this is like, and there's little illustrations. I mean, it's so great.
Oh, that's really cute. I love that.
Good morning, good night, and obviously each page is one side's good morning, one side's good night. All right, and then this is more for like your rabid reader. You may have heard about Jack Reacher. That's the one that who's the actor? Can't remember his name. Kind of short.
Jeremy
Scientologist guy.
Oh no, Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise. I knew I'd mess that up. All right. So anyway,
As soon as you said short in Scientology, it was like ding ding ding.
Yeah. So he's but the thing is that there's 23 books of Jack Reacher. So it's a huge, huge, huge series of books, thriller books. And this book is about Jack Reacher searching for his father in his father's hometown. But really this book or any book like it, is kind of this is for like the real readers, the ones who like a thriller, that
Action
kind of thing.
adventure.
Yep.
Okay. I like it.
All right. So now we're going to change gears. So the new year, new you, right? New year is coming. So I figured
So much pressure.
Yeah, I'd switch gears, but I found a couple fun books around that, not the cliche. So this is Dr. Venus Nicolino. I wasn't really that familiar with her, but she's basically like kind of the Real Housewife of what do you call it? A therapist. Well, not even. Well, yeah, I guess she's kind of self-help also, but it's like how to survive and thrive in an age of beep. And really her book is it's for people who want to like kind of advance their life, but don't want platitudes, don't want any kind of like foofy anything. This book is meant to defeat the foofy, but really still kind of say the little message about it. So that's what that's about.
I'm like thinking what the foofy is. I was like, is that doing like yoga when it's 4:45, like right before the sun sets and then like chanting?
No, I was thinking, well, for me, I actually really like self-help books. So for me, it's the more like technical, get into it, very like serious book. And this one's more like fun, silly, less formal, you know, that kind of thing. So that it, you know, it's like self-help for people who don't want to admit that they're reading a self-help book. That'd
be me. That's perfect.
All right. Now this one, Chris Gethard, and
he seems enthused.
Yeah. So he's a comedian. And this is another book in that self-help flavor. Now, he's a protege of Judd Apatow. Oh. And Judd Apatow actually wrote about, you know, about his book on the back. And you know, he's got fans in the comedy world. And the whole thing about this guy is he actually, you know, UCB.
The upright City.
Yep. Yeah. So he had a nervous breakdown at UCB. Like literally in the back row, they had to like possibly take him to the hospital. I can't remember if it went to his brother's house or the hospital. And what he had to confront was that he was so busy worrying about failing that he wasn't just failing. So this book is really about like going for your dreams while being willing to fail. And he's failed. You know, he's not the most famous comedian there is, right? So, you know, he's not the biggest of the big, but this book really is about being willing to fail, being willing to, like, are you going to catch a break or not? But if you spend all your energy and time worrying about that, you're, you know, it's not going to be good.
No.
So
be ridden with anxiety.
All right. And then the last two books are, another little theme. It's like, this is like kind of fun. This is good transition between this and this. So these are like fun, like, you know, more creative, bookish, also good for the coffee table.
It's pretty.
So yeah, this is Kim Cran's, and this is a journal. And it's really beautiful.
It is.
And trying to open it here. So she tells people, like, she gives them kind of places of inspiration at the beginning of the book. It's only like 16 or 18 pages where she actually says these inspirational things. And then she actually tells you what you could do with the pages. So you could draw, you could write, you could paint, you could collage. And then the rest of the book is just a word and a design. And so if you're a writer, you write. If you're a doodler, you doodle. It's just kind of a jumping off point for you to like really create.
That's cool. I like it.
And
Harry
then,
Potter.
Yes. So this is this company called Insight Editions. Now they're like, I don't know, they're like our what's the word for it? Soulmate for Bookstr, because like Bookstr is about book culture meets pop culture, and the thing that's the most favorite thing of our audience is Harry Potter. But these guys, okay, this is about Harry Potter creatures. But it's like, it's crazy.
Whoa, that's
so
cool.
I mean, it's like beautiful, explains the creatures, and has pop-ups. I mean, obviously, any Harry Potter fan will just go crazy. They also do little Harry Potter journals where you could, you know, Gryffindor or whatever, like the little journal. Yeah, check out Insight Editions. They really, it's crazy how many, like, amazing. They have a book about Han Solo. They have a book about, they have a Mighty Power Rangers they came out with a book with.
Really?
Yeah, so it's like this pop culture book company that does these really awesome, like, kind of, I don't know, fun books.
Yeah, they're really artistic.
I know,
though.
they're
You could definitely put that on your coffee table and in a very, like, not in a tongue-in-cheek way. Like, this is just really pretty.
Yeah. And when we first heard about them, they did a pop-up book for Game of Thrones. So it was like, so we were like, oh my God, who are these people?
But obviously,
and now they did a pop-up book for Harry Potter. So totally on brand.
Can you tell us about Bookstr's new giveaway?
Oh, sure. So some of these books, these three, are part of a giveaway that we're doing with, of course, I can't hold things right. It comes with this beautiful Random House bag. And so if you go to bookstr.com, and you'll see that we do these really beautiful giveaways, like very creative. So in the book world, people just kind of give away a book.
Yep.
What we do is we put them together with like fun prizes and like little, like we present it artistically. It's really, immersive. So if you go to our site, you'll see that you could win a whole like 9 books from Random House, a tote bag and all that. But we have different giveaways like every week. So
that's great. And you guys are crushing it in the book world.
Thank you. Yeah, we try to bring what I say is where book culture meets pop culture. And we're trying to bring like the world of content to the world of books. And personally, I'm originally from the music world, where it's really normal to do that. But around the book world, to really I say, I'm making the authors into the new rock stars. So that's the idea around Bookstr.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the suggestions. I love them. Well, while we set up for our next segment, I want to give a quick shout out to one of our Bold family members, Mr. Clay Aiken. He's joining Ruben Studdard on Broadway. That's right, Broadway, for a Christmas special, and opening night was this week. Founder of Bold, Carrie Sheffield, has already seen the show, and this is a direct quote from Carrie, and I have to do it just right. She says it's amazing. End quote. You can find out more on their site, rubenandclay.com. Shout out to Clay. We're so proud of you from your Bold family members. It's incredibly exciting. And Ruben and Clay have been doing a lot of press too. So they were talking about some of the things that were a little controversial about songs, and you could Google that and find out all about it. But while we're almost there. So I'm just going to slowly get started on our next segment and introduce you to what we're about to do. We're excited to welcome Jamie Miles. She is a site director at bestproducts.com, which provides the latest product reviews and roundups. She's here to give us the best products for millennials because, as you know, we're a difficult bunch for this holiday season. Welcome, Jamie.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
It's lovely to have you, and you've brought in a lot of stuff. When I brought
a lot of things.
I was like, is Jamie cooking?
I'm moving in, actually.
Oh, good. Yeah, there's a couch.
It's pretty comfortable here. So
there's my Mr. Pillow Man.
I'm going to hang out for a little while.
Please do. Join us. So, the first category we're covering is gifts for host.
Yes. So gifts for host. If someone's hosting a holiday party, you don't want to show up empty-handed, right?
No, that's bad form for sure.
Exactly. So I love this in particular. This is from Uncommon Goods. So this is a food styling tool set. So you know everyone's going to Instagram the food. Here's a little way to basically fake your Martha Stewart chops.
Okay.
And you can actually use things like these little tweezers. There's a misting spray to spray oil so everything looks beautiful, even if it didn't come out of the kitchen that way.
Oh my gosh, I never knew.
There's a culinary scalpel, so you can kind of fake it till you make it with this set that makes the presentation look amazing and very Instagrammable.
That's really cool.
So really fun, $45 on Common Goods. And then this I love. So this is from our sister site, Delish. They just came out with a new cookbook. Everything in here is mouthwateringly amazing looking. So there's one recipe in particular I have to show you, cookie dough cheesecake. So this is the best of two worlds. Cookie dough meets cheesecake. Gotta love it.
Cheesecake's really hard to make. I tried to do it once and
it's a challenge. But the best thing about this cookbook is that it's actually made for foodies that aren't chefs.
Okay.
So the recipes are a little easier than you might find on some other websites. And the food is gorgeous and amazingly delicious. The banana split lasagna is another one of my favorites that I want to make this weekend. So
sounds good.
Definitely going to try that out. A couple other things. So the Sipwell stainless steel straws, I didn't bring those with me, but they're really budget friendly. They're $9 for 4 stainless steel straws. And actually, Oprah had some stainless steel straws on her list of favorite things. They save the planet and they make everything taste a little bit better that you're sipping out of them.
Really?
So really great. Yeah, and it's very eco-friendly. So you're foregoing the plastic straw. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like that.
Me too. Another one that's fun is the Brooklyn Brew Shop DIY Rosé Sparkling Kit. So you can actually DIY your own sparkling rosé. It makes 5 different bottles, and you can bring the bottles with you to a girls' night. If you're having, a weekend brunch or something, and you get the bragging rights to say, hey, I actually made this bubbly.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, I would love it just to be like, hey, ladies, look what I made. Like, you made a sweater, I made rosé.
I made rosé. Who doesn't love that, right? And then the other one, too, is Numi Gifts by Mood. So these are, it's a tea set, actually. There's 8 different teas in here. And millennials can change their mood quite frequently. So you could pick your tea based on your mood, whether you're feeling a little more chilled out, you want something before bed, or you're a little more energized and you need like a little pick-me-up at work. So there's 8 different teas to choose from. Really great gift set, $24 on Amazon, so not too pricey, but it makes for a really great presentation, too.
I love it. Okay, so there's even more things.
There's even more. I know.
Where do we go? So
we can keep going.
Let's jump into the blender.
Blender. Okay, so this is not your average blender, even though it looks like it. So yes, it'll make a mean smoothie, but it also makes things like hot soup. So from start to finish, you can actually like puree your vegetables in here. Our coworker actually made a tomato soup in here that was delicious, and it's only $99 from Walmart.com. And so again, really affordable, much cheaper than the Vitamix.
Okay.
So definitely.
It's actually really sleek and pretty if you had to leave it out on your counter.
Exactly. Yeah, it looks great, and you'd never guess it was budget friendly.
Now, December, people are traveling. They want to be comfortable.
People are traveling. Exactly. Okay, I got to jump to this then because this is like the epitome of comfy. It's actually called The Comfy. This is huge. It's bigger than me. It started as a Shark Tank idea, and it actually got funded. So this is a blanket meets sweatshirt. It's actually reversible, so if you wanted, you could have like this beautiful Sherpa on the inside or the outside, depending on what you want to show. And we recommend traveling in this, like for the plane or the car, but our coworkers actually live in this in the office.
Really?
Because if your office is freezing, you'll never be cold again wearing this. It has a hood and everything, super cozy. You can buy it on thecomfy.com, $40. Comes in like 3 different colors too.
It looks really comfortable.
It's super comfortable. We might have to give this to you at the end.
Okay, I'll take it. And my mom has been saying she bought this robe that's just awful, and I was like, can't you wear some? She's like, but I'm so cold all the time.
Well, then this is perfect for your mom.
It is. It's a great gift.
There you
that
go.
really is.
You don't have to do any last minute shopping after this.
No, perfect. I'm done. What do you recommend for card games? Because when people gather together, you want to do something other than just stare at like the fake fireplace on TV.
I know, exactly. So this is really fun. I'm not sure if you've heard of this. This is Exploding Kittens. It's a really fast-paced card game. It's kind of like a Russian roulette style game where if you pull an exploding kitten, it means that you're out of the game. So sorry you lost. But it's really fun, and the cartoons are great. It comes from a blogger called The Oatmeal, and this was actually one of the most backed Kickstarter projects in history. So it's really popular online and a top-selling product for sure. If you're not into that, Relative Insanity is another really popular family-friendly game. So it's a little bit more like Cards Against Humanity in the sense that you're picking a card and you need to actually kind of fill in the blank. I'm not sure if you've ever played Apples to Apples as well, but it's similar to that too. Okay. Where you fill in the blank, you put your card down with whatever you've drawn, and then the judge is choosing like whose card was the funniest, and that's how you win. $15 on Amazon. So again, really affordable, great holiday gift.
Finally, we only have time for one other product, so I'm just going to let you pick.
Okay, real quickly. So this is amazing. This is very portable. It's a cheese melter. Really fun concept. You put your favorite cheese on the inside, and then you actually light 3 tea lights at the bottom, and it melts your favorite cheese. Great for a cheesy appetizer. You can dip crostini, crackers, even roasted cauliflower, and it's great. Super portable. Bring it over to your friend's house for the holidays, and they'll be impressed.
I love that. It's a fun do.
Exactly. Fun do. We love it.
Oh my goodness. No, thank you. These are great suggestions. I'm really like into that, the food styling revolution. Yep. That's the way to do it if you're hosting.
That's one of my favorites too.
Thank you so much for bringing all these great goodies.
Absolutely.
Let's go to our next segment, brought to you by one of our bold partners, Independent Women's Forum. This week, we have friend of the show, Julie Gunlock, with us. She's on Skype. She's the director of Center for Progress and Innovation at IWF. Welcome back to the show, Julie.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right, so I'm going to jump right in because this headline is a little bit, I don't know if we've gone over the edge here. Julie, we've seen some parenting headlines that some parents worry about or have a problem with telling kids about Santa. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so we see this every year around the holidays. There are all these sort of think pieces and a lot of consternation over whether we should essentially lie to our kids. I actually have to be really quiet during this segment. My kids are, getting home from school, so I don't want to, ruin their lives right now.
Oh my gosh, no.
But I think people take things way too seriously. I'm sorry if I didn't finish. Whether Santa is real, whether Santa is real, and whether you should lie to your kids, because essentially, obviously, it requires you to lie to your kids if you're going to tell them that Santa is real. And that
for
Santa
like a good 7 to 8 years of their life, too.
That's right. And I actually have slightly older children than that, and they still believe in them, so I'm starting to wonder what's wrong with my children. But anyway, so there's all these sort of questions as to the really, I'm like, God, how can you still believe in flying reindeer? But whatever. Anyway, that's another bold topic. But so there's a lot of questions about this, and a lot of child psychiatrists sort of weigh in on this. Is it right? And and I mean, some people go, like you said, really overboard, where they say, when their child finds out, they're going to find out you've been lying to them for a decade or for 8 years or something. And I have to say, I think that's a little silly. Look. There's another train of thought and sort of body of commentary from psychiatrists that say it's very good for children. It makes them happy. It sort of opens up wonder and storytelling and surprise and excitement.
Yeah.
So it's on both sides, but I am a big believer in lying to children. I've done it now for 11 years. It's worked for me.
Thank you, Julie.
Yeah. So I don't think that this is the big sort of, I don't think it's a big no-no. I think, again, it adds to the wonder of Christmas.
I mean, honestly, not that I want to make kind of an apples to oranges comparison, but we also lie about the stork because children are not ready to kind of wrap their head around that concept. So what's, from my standpoint, and I'm just going to give my opinion here, like you mentioned about the wonderment and the magic that is the holiday, and we are making children grow up so fast as it is. They have phones in their faces by the time that they're really babbling at this point. And the world is so chaotic and crazy and pretty bleak and dismal at times. Let them be kids. And having Santa Claus in their life is one way that they can do it. So do you think there are positives to teaching our kids to believe in Santa?
Look, I do. I think, Diana, you're a new mom. You're going to be facing all of this soon, at the point where your child becomes more of a toddler and they understand these concepts. And I really think it's part of the fun. My husband and I, we have different wrapping paper. We use, a sort of more formal print when we put who the gift is from. We really do believe in this, and it has added so much joy. They're so excited to come down the stairs. Of course, it's your choice if you don't want to have your children believing in this. But I think to sort of suggest it's a lie, it's a big scandalous lie, is a little bit, it's going overboard a little bit. I think, kids understand that, as they grow older and as they mature, many childhood beliefs, things that they took stock and they really believed in, aren't true. That's part of growing up, and it's not going to break anyone's hearts. I will just add, though, there was a great suggestion from one of I read an article where a woman, she decided to tell her child that he can now become a Santa and give gifts to other kids or give gifts to his family members. And it was a really nice way to transition. I thought that was a lovely way to handle it.
That is a nice way to handle it, because you mention about how do you kind of unveil the truth that Santa is, your kids aren't around, right? So I can say this?
Yes.
Is mythological.
Right.
I don't remember it back in my time when I was pretty young too, and I figured it out. And I had an older brother who I'm sure helped plant the seed that Santa wasn't real. But I don't remember it being catastrophic or breaking my heart. I was kind of like, I was at that age developmentally where it was okay to let it go. And I think that's the parents' job, to kind of know their child and know if they're ready to handle that truth.
Exactly right, Dana. This is the thing that I've talked about for years. There is no one size fits all parenting strategy. Mm-hmm. You have to figure it out as you go along. Every time I have a friend who gets pregnant, I say, don't read anything. Just for 9 months, don't read any advice, because it really is stressful to hear about all these things. And again, if you have a child, like obviously my children are really gullible. Okay. Like they're a little older than 8. Well, I still have an 8-year-old. But they, and I don't know, in some ways I think we're at the point where they might feel like it'll hurt my feelings if they tell me. They don't know. So it's a really interesting thing. And again, you have to make these judgments based on your child.
You really do. And can I just ask?
In general, these things don't exist.
I would have been really relieved, though, if Mr. Sam, when I found out, wasn't real, because that just seems haunting.
Totally crazy, but I survived and I'm fine. I'm fine.
Julie, thank you for your candid take on parenting. It's always great to hear from you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Happy holidays. For our next segment, we're happy to have filmmaker Ray Boudreau with us. Am I saying that right?
Boudreau.
Oh, Boudreau, I'm so sorry. With headlines about, I'm just going to jump right in, because this is the filmmaker producer's kind of heyday when you're in award season. Is it overwhelming for you right now?
I don't have any movies up for awards, so no.
So
not even a little.
Not even a little.
Not even a little. Hopefully next year, I'll have to stress about it.
Is it one of those times though that's a great networking platform for producers?
I imagine when you're going out to the Academy dinner and you're meeting people, and if you're up for a nomination, I imagine that everybody will be flocking around you, trying to set you up for your next project, whether you're a director or cinematographer or whatever it is, producer. So I imagine, if you're in contention, that absolutely it's a busy time of year and it's a great time to be in the movie business. Yeah,
and I would say even if you're not in contention for winning anything, just to be around people that could help kind of place a movie, or it's in that world, I think it's a lot of who you know.
In any world.
It is.
I come from a construction background. I was in the bar restaurant business until I was 29. And, a lot of life is who you know and being in the right place at the right time, putting yourself in a position.
Prepared for it, too.
Correct. Preparation meets good luck.
Yes. And it's usually like a good 10-year overnight success, I always say. So little grit, little resilience. You have a new film you worked on called The Public.
Correct.
Can we watch a clip of that?
Sure.
The unidentified homeless man was found dead just outside the doors of the public library.
I heard 2 more people froze to death. When it gets this cold, I don't know why they don't just let us stay here.
In 10 minutes, the main library will be closing for the night.
Mr. Griffith, I gotta talk to you. There's not enough shelter for us people on the street.
Who is us?
There are a lot of cop cars here. Is everything all right?
Patrons are staging an action.
The library has not been sanctioned an official emergency shelter.
This is Detective Bill Ramsden.
Sooner or later, you're gonna have to open that door.
So now is probably not a great time to come and get my library card.
Wow. That's that line when he said, for us, and he said, who's us?
Yeah.
And the panning out, I just fought back tears.
Yeah, I mean, it's, so I've been a part of 7 films, and The Public is exactly the kind of movie you want to make. That's why I started this business. 3 years ago, I got the idea. I wanted to get in the entertainment business, and shining a light in a dark place and telling that story in an entertaining way. I think that's why most filmmakers get into filmmaking, for the love of it. The Public came out great. Emilio Estevez and the cast, Alec Baldwin, Taylor Schilling, they did a phenomenal job.
Strong cast.
Yeah, and I'm excited about the release of it.
Can you tell us why you were drawn to the theme of homelessness, especially living in New York City? We're faced with seeing that every single day, and I think a lot of people do get desensitized to it.
Absolutely. We choose to look the other way. We choose to ignore it, or in the back of our minds, we always think of the Times articles and this where it's saying, oh, well, most of the people are doing it as a job.
Right, panhandling.
And we'll choose to think that as opposed to people that are really hurting and down on their luck for whatever reason that may be. And as a society, it's easier and gentler to look the other way. As opposed to start the conversation, like this is a problem. How do we solve it? How do we work towards it? Because, we're never going to do away with homelessness, but let's talk about it. Let's all just be a part of the conversation. Let's all just start thinking about how we can make things better. Everybody has a story. Everybody's on the street for a reason.
Yeah.
It's
not always, oh, they're lazy, oh, they're mentally ill, and those are these terrible generalizations. It's just some people have really, really bad luck and can't get back on their feet alone.
Absolutely. I mean, the first thing I wrote when I started this company, I think I wrote it about 2.5 years ago, was basically a treatment for a TV show based on youth homelessness. Because for me, talk about undocumented workers. These kids, they leave home, and they all leave for a reason.
Yeah.
And they find themselves out on the streets in L.A., San Francisco, New York, and and you know, and there are no birth certificates, no driver's licenses, no social security cards. You know, a lot of times when they leave, it's with the clothes on their backs, and they all have a story. And again, like the public, it's you know, one day I'll get around to making that and shining that light in a dark place and telling a story in an entertaining way.
I look forward to that, and I hope that you can get that made. I saw you in that brief teaser, so you had a cameo in the movie?
I do. I do cameos, like Stan Lee type, Alfred Hitchcock cameos in some of the movies I'm a part of. And then just this year, 2 friends had put me in their movies, and yeah, you know.
That's fun.
It is fun. I enjoy acting. You know, when in my 20s, that's how I was going to make my way in the world. I was a professional bartender, and I was going to get discovered behind the bar and be the next Bruce Willis.
Oh, like Tom Cruise in Cocktail?
Yeah, like that. That's how I became a bartender, by watching Cocktail. And
Really?
Oh, yeah. I had blonde highlights, a diamond earring, the whole bit.
Psychic. I was going to ask you how you made the transition from, you know, from your business life and going into film.
Like I said, I was a professional. I was in the restaurant business till I was 29. And then I got
business too.
I got into construction, you know, when I was, you know, a little part-time before I was 29, but really when I was 29. And then I did that in my 30s. So I was restaurant business in my 20s, construction in my 30s. All right, what am I going to do in my 40s?
It's like every decade you have a new job.
Kind of like that.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good way to attack each decade.
I love the hustle. And being in the film business was the only thing I ever wanted to do I hadn't done yet. You know, everything else I ever wanted to do or try, I did. And then this was, you know, my last frontier, as it were. So I'm giving it a run while I still got a little fire in my belly and a little hustle in my step.
I have a funny feeling you're someone who's never going to run out of the fire.
I hope not.
No, keep it going. Keep hustling. I can't wait for you to come back with your next project.
I look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thanks
It's
so
a pleasure
much.
meeting you.
Have a great day.
All right, guys, we have a special treat for our last segment. We have singer and composer Sophie DUNÉR with us. At the end of the show, she's going to sing for us, which I've been very excited about. First, we'll hear about her work. She's a visual artist as well. Welcome, Sophie.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here.
Of course. Now, a little teaser to our audience. She has such a beautiful voice, and you're going to be very happy, so please continue to watch. So first, how did you get into music?
I got into music starting playing the piano when I was a kid, and then I made a transfer to voice lessons, and at the same time I was always drawing pictures. So actually I think I did all those 3 things always.
You're just born artistic.
Yeah. But however, composition came in at a later stage in life.
Okay, that's
composing is almost the same as painting anyway. So,
how do you describe your music for those who haven't heard it yet?
How I describe it, I don't like to put words on music because I think that's the mission of music itself. When you perform, they have an experience. But if I would describe everything beforehand, then it would be like a double impression. But if you ask me now. Basically, it's jazz with other influences from contemporary music to film music to theater music. But the basis is in jazz.
Who would you say are your influences musically?
Musically, Stravinsky, Thelonious Monk, and Charles Mingus, and also Kurt Weill.
Wow, that's
that pretty much locks it up.
Oh, wow, okay. And you travel all over the world for your career. How does performing in Sweden compare to the U.S.?
Well, it's different. I guess stylistically, audiences have different tastes. That I'd like to say first. And also the venues are different. For example, I had the pleasure of performing there in a really beautiful castle. It was amazing, like a fairy tale kind of a stage with a chamber orchestra and also with a violin trio making jazz.
That's so cool.
So they do a lot of those kind of crossing things.
And speaking of crossing styles and kind of crossing even careers, you're a painter as well.
Yes.
How do you balance your painting and your singing career?
Oh, it comes very natural. I give exhibits and I have concerts, and sometimes I combine both of them, and one feed the other. So to say, they have different energies. The music is sort of in one vibe and one mode. and the art world is sort of slightly different, and I think they complete each other very well. So it becomes very natural. I'm not trying to do anything. It just happens that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's complements one another.
Yeah,
Before you sing for us, can you tell us about your upcoming events in New York?
My coming events in New York will be together with Jean Pritzker at Cornelia Street Cafe on Sunday night. I'm invited to participate in a concert called Concept Lab that will feature several composers. And then I have the main concert on Friday, December 21. And that will feature Mark Kostabi, Jean Pritzker, and myself. And we will do a collection of our songs. And very much looking forward to that.
Yeah, so if anyone is in New York, go check Sophie out. What are you performing for us today?
We're performing Let It Snow together with Noah Lehrman on percussion.
Wonderful.
Very much looking forward.
All right, we're going to let Sophie and her team get ready, your team of two. Sophie will be accompanied today by Noah Lehrman.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. While these set up, I want to thank you all for being here. As always, if you like the show, share it with your friends. Make sure to like Bold TV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For more Bold TV next Friday, join us at 10 a.m. for our politics show, at noon for our business show, and at 2 p.m. for another episode of Bold Life. Now let's go to Sophie and Noah. We're ready whenever you are.
Okay. The weather outside is frightful, and the fire so delightful. Since we've no place to go, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. It doesn't show signs of stopping, and I bought some corn for popping. The lights are turned way down low. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. We finally kiss goodnight. How I hate going out in the snow. But if you really hold me tight, all the way home I'll be warm. The fire is slowly dying, and my dear, we're still goodbying. But as long as you love me so, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. When we finally kiss goodnight, how I hate going out in the storm. But if you really hold me tight, all the way home I'll be warm. The fire is slowly dying, and my dear, we're still goodbying. But as long as you love me so, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
Thank you. Awesome. Beautiful job, guys.
Wonderful.
Thank you all for being here. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks, everyone, and have a great holiday. Noah Lehrman, Sophie DUNÉR. Thank you.